All right, man, I'm here looking at your video. I got my computer screen going over here, so I'm not being rude. I'm going back and forth between my phone and my computer screen watching your video. And I just want to give anybody else who's watching this an idea here on your deadlift video. I don't even know if I can overlap these two because I shoot all of my videos this way and you shot your video this way. I know that I just sounded really, really old when I did that. I'm assuming that you had asked earlier about possibly what is the best squat variation to help your deadlift off the floor. And people asked for some videos, so you posted a video of your deadlift. You've struggled and avoided deadlifting for a long time due to constantly slipping discs. You think you're finally getting a handle on that. Before anyone comments, hire a coach. You went that route to prepare for your first competition back in February. It didn't go well at all. You paid very well for a very well-known coach, and he seemed very absent and repeatedly confused on what your events even were after telling him and sending him the link for the competition. So you posted a video, 405 pounds for a double. As far as the coach, I don't want anyone to think that I'm coming on here to poach anybody or to do anything remotely like that. I just want to help you. And I want to say that it is a difficult business when it comes to hiring coaches, performance coaches, strength coaches of any kind online, because there's always, not always, yeah, almost always, there's some sort of issue with communication, and that's what everything comes down to. The coach finding the right way to communicate what they want to be done, and for the athlete to understand that. So to be able to coach in a way that the athlete understands, and then the way for the athlete to come back and relay all the information back to the coach in the best way possible. And it's always both sides. But if the coach wants to stay in business, they have to accept the responsibility. If things don't go well, it's not the athlete's fault. The coach could have always done something better. Not just my opinion, I think it's fact in any situation. So looking at your deadlift, you haven't deadlifted in a while because of the issues with slipping discs. Now I'm looking at your technique here and just watching your lifts. You know, first thing I asked was, why are you looking at the floor? And I'll try to cover this when I can get to the gym and I can actually deadlift with a barbell. I'm here at home right now and it's after midnight, so I've got all my gym stuff along the wall behind me. But you looking down and looking forward is going to give you a rounded upper back, and it's putting your entire upper body out in front of the bar. It's great for a clean, for a weightlifting clean, but not for a deadlift. You're fairly stiff-legged deadlifting things up, and that's because you're way out in front. That said, and that's always a big criticism when anytime I see someone looking down at the floor when they're squatting or deadlifting. There's really no great reason for that, except for I've got mobility issues or I have an injury. I think people forget that Mark Bell, people used to think, well, Mark Bell squats this way with his head down to the ground. They didn't watch the rest of the video where he said, I now have to squat with my head facing this way because of neck injuries. You know, I've worked with a lot of athletes that definitely deadlift kind of with their head starting down. But all of them were so big and so huge and so bloated, you couldn't squirt a drop of lemon juice in their eye if you tried. It was so bloated. And the big thing that we look for is, how do you finish? So if you finish at a certain position, you can start at that same position. What we look for is you don't want any of that movement either direction. So you can find your strong top position, how you lock out and how you finish, and then start in that way, especially if you are dealing with injuries. So the older that I've gotten, the more I've realized that as injuries and mobility and things like that have sat in, my body's movement changes all the time to accommodate for that. And it may change every single Sunday that I go to deadlift, depending on how I feel, what hurts, did I gain 8 pounds this week, which happens all the time for me, or lose 8 pounds this week. I can do that as well. So before I criticize your technique, and I think that it could be improved, I want to give you ways in which you can fix them yourself. I really think that if you can take a couple of months, and I was thinking about this last night, if you took 6 months and worked on this yourself, but you might fix it in 3 training sessions, in 6 training sessions, I don't know. Then if you hired someone that you were comfortable with helping you, even if it was just somebody, a buddy at the gym that you said, okay, today's deadlift day, I need you here. Today is strongman day, I want your help. You don't need to walk into that help session or those help sessions already with major problems that you haven't figured out yet, because you're going to be using this time to figure out, for this person to figure out stuff that you can possibly figure out on your own. That way, when you do work with someone, you can focus on just taking off like a rocket instead of let's stay in this one spot and fix these problems first. Hope that makes sense. So what I tend to do is what I think you can do is look at programming the way I design programming, and I run it in 3 and 6 weeks blocks. So let me try to explain how I think you could do this. Generally, week 1 for me, when I'm working with someone, is I will do something very, very basic. Sometimes deadlifts at the end of the week and at the beginning of a strongman training session, and it's just a deload. I want to see them pull 65% for a couple sets of 3 or 5 or whatever, just to make sure they're not doing anything totally ridiculous. I might have them do something like I'll say, work up to a sub-max 3. That way I can see them with some kind of weight on the bar. 90% is roughly what we're looking for a 3. So if you do somewhere around 85 to 87% for 3, I can look at it. You can look at it if you're watching your own videos and should be able to pick up little technical things that are going on. So it's heavy enough that you have to have good technique, but it's not all out. I also may do in a week 1 some paused work, not on the way up, but on the way down. Or I may so we're going to pull 60% for 4 sets of 7, 3 or 4 sets of 7, and I want a slow negative on reps 1, 4, and 7. 3 to 5 second negative on reps 1, 4, and 7. Great chance to build positions, and also great opportunity for you to go back at the end, watch the videos, and say, I'm missing that spot. Or you know what? I'm taking it down perfectly. Why am I not bringing it up in that same bar path? I hope you listen to that. That's big. That's big. So week 2 is when things start really ramping up. Week 2, I normally say to put somewhere around 60 to 65% of straight weight on the bar and somewhere around 20% of band tension on the bar. We can go chains, but I prefer band tension for this. Something that's fun and exciting at the top requires you to have some kind of speed, attitude, balls and attitude. Requires you to have to work and be perfect. It's not going to beat you up. So you walk up, you pull a single, you step back, and immediately you start thinking, what could I have done better? What did I make a mistake on? Wow, that was really, really, really freaking slow. I'm going to have to get my attitude right if I'm going to go ahead and get a bunch more singles like this. So the next set you walk up, as soon as you're ready, and you pull the second one. Knock it out. You step back. What did I do wrong? What could I have done better? Crap, I didn't use my air. I didn't push my midsection out. I didn't brace properly. All right, let's go. Set 3. And you repeat. How long do you rest? Well, you rest as long as it takes in between sets for your body to be able to go back up and to pull another rep effectively and efficiently with balls and attitude again. If you're going really, really light, and for me a lot of times that used to just be 15 to 30 seconds. The older I've gotten and the more that I'm working with someone online, not face-to-face, I'll tell them 1 to 2 minutes. If you got to go 2.5, then you got to go 2.5. Here's the thing. I need you to take enough sets that are good reps, that you can call it practice. If you only walk out and do 1 hard set of 3 or 5, you only got 1 chance to fix stuff. That's it. And then you're toast for the day. We'll come back next week and hope we remember and hope the body feels the same and the body weight's the same. But if you walk out, pull a single, step back, rest a couple of minutes. Okay, what do I need to fix? I didn't tuck in my lats. My arms weren't long. Let me try it with my head up. And then I walk back out there and pull again. I have another opportunity to do it correctly, another opportunity to learn, to get things right. Standard is somewhere around 7 to 12 singles with that weight. And if you have to rest 3 to 4 minutes, 5 minutes on the last few reps, sets, whatever you want to call it, that's fine. These are opportunities for you to get things right. If you start continually doing things wrong, if you pull more than one set in a row that is slow, you are done. We're not in the business of practicing being incorrect. If you start practicing incorrect reps, then you're going to start pulling incorrectly when it counts. That's really important. If you start practicing incorrect reps, you're going to start pulling incorrect reps whenever it counts. So if things are continually going wrong, more than one set in a row, you are done. Stop. Don't teach yourself bad patterns. If there's something that you want to work on, you want to try, hey, you know what? Maybe I should widen my grip out one finger. Maybe I should bring it in one finger. Maybe I should bring my heels in a little bit. Maybe I should try that slightly wider stance that I've been working on. Maybe there's a new rhythm. Maybe I should try getting my head up like Clint said. That was too much. Maybe if I go down a little bit more. Maybe if I tuck my chin like a turtle and then stick my chin out, maybe that will give that back arch that Clint's talking about without me totally screwing up my balance. You have all these opportunities to try things and figure it out. Because in week 3, we want the same setup on the bar as in week 2. Same setup. Week 3 is looked at as an opportunity to pull something heavy and or a low volume week. It's singles only, basically from warm-ups to however far you want to go. If you want to stop at 85% because you're dead tired, then fine. You achieved a low volume week. If you pull 90, 93, 95% and stop with some left in reserve, fine. That was still a low volume week. If you want to go for it and pull something heavy, I really never want to see somebody miss. Sometimes missing is just a sign of not being intelligent about your lifts and your weight selections. I really never want to see somebody miss, but if you do, we can manage that down the road. Pull something and make sure that you applied what you learned in week 2. Very important. It means you have to have studied what happened in week 2. Apply in week 3 what you learned in week 2. Now, when week 3 is over, you go back and you study all the video. You should have taken notes as soon as you finish that deadlift session. What do we need to work on? And that becomes week 3, also known as week 1 again. What have we learned in the first 3 weeks of training? That's what we work on in week 1. Is it position work that we fix with Dimmel deadlifts? Do we need to go heavier with the slow negatives or pauses? Is it rack pulls? Is it bands? Is it chains? Do we just need more rest? Do we need more lats, more hamstrings, more glutes, more whatever? What did you learn from the first 3 weeks of training? That's what you hammer away again on week 1/3. And then in week 2, back to somewhere around 60-65% plus bands or chains. Your opportunities week. What have you learned in the 4 weeks so far that you say, this is what I need to work on this week? I've learned all of this previously. This is what I'm going to work on this week. Now it's my opportunities week. It's my week to do these singles and try stuff and figure it out. A chance to start applying the theories that I've come up with so far when it doesn't superly count, when I can afford to mess up. And then you are at week 6 again. Low volume and or go heavy and apply what you've learned so far week. And that process just continues to rotate. And what I generally learn with working with clients that do something like this is after they've done this 6-9 weeks, they'll usually say, hey, you know what? I need a little bit more time spent on week 1 and week 2 and less time on week 3. I don't need to max every 3 weeks. If it's every 6 weeks, every 9 weeks, that's probably a lot better. Maybe I need a deload on week 3. Maybe I need 2 weeks of building my weaknesses. Maybe I need 2 weeks of the opportunities week before I go into the application week, and that's fine. That's what I generally see with people after several weeks. But here's the thing. I think that if you run a progression like that, if you are a true learner of the game, a true learner of the sport, and you can apply what you're constantly learning, I think you can possibly figure things out. And the thing is, because you're going through issues with your spine, because you are definitely committed to getting better at the deadlift, things are going to change. So if I give you a bunch of immediate cues, some definitive has to be this, has to be that cues, change like this, you need to deadlift just like, I don't want to say me now, but the way I used to. You need to deadlift the perfect way. Your deadlift is probably going to go down, and your back is probably going to be hurt again. But if you make those changes slowly, as your body continues to adapt, as you continue to find strengths and weaknesses, and then you apply your training around fixing those, you can probably get yourself a lot farther than somebody else can right now, and a heck of a lot safer. Now, how is all that for a coach who makes his money and puts food on the table by convincing people they need to hire him immediately? Because I'm convincing you that you can do this on your own with some nice work and a decent deadlift program. Anyway, man, if you need help with this, you have some questions, send me a message. I usually get one night a week where I can sit down for about 20 minutes in front of a camera and make a video to somebody other than a client. If you need help, let me know. If what I've told you about positioning doesn't help here in a few weeks, I'll try to shoot some video at the gym where I'm set up to deadlift. But I really think you're going to figure it out on your own. And you're going to get there safely. Hope this helps, man. Have a good one.